So we shall proceed further on the topic projectile weaving. So in the part 1 lecture of the projectile weaving, we already discussed about the projectile weaving, the main element of the projectile weaving, that is the gripper or projectile, the role of the projectile, its construction, and then we have discussed about the projectile insertion system and various stages of projectile weaving. So now we shall discuss various other parts of the projectile looms. Electrically controlled projectile brake. So that is one of the important part in the projectile loom, electrically controlled projectile brake, because as I have already discussed, the projectiles are the bullet-like element and they are actually traversing in a very high speed like bullets. So there should be suitable stopping mechanism of the projectile at the other side of the loom when the insertion cycle will be completed. So a robust and electrically controlled projectile brake mechanism is required to stop such high velocity projectile. The electronically controlled brake has the function of stopping the projectiles in the correct position. So projectile should be stopped at a correct position, otherwise the projectile will be not detected by the system, and if it is not detected by the system, by the instrument or by the machine, then there may be mispeak and wrong peak formation. Okay, then loom will automatically stop. There will be the automatic wave breakage mechanism. If the projectile will not reach a proper or correct position inside the stopping motion, then the machine will stop automatically, detecting a healing breakage. So without the need for manual intervention, the projectile loom should detect the presence of the projectile at the correct position at the either side of the loom. Okay, then the machine will automatically run and the next insertion of the projectile occur. So the presence of the machine, the present machines have the projectile brake adjusted by a microprocessor, and this permitted to increase the efficiency rate and to reduce the maintenance cost. So basically nowadays the stopping mechanism is actually microprocessor controlled, and this is increasing the efficiency rate and reduce the maintenance cost of the brake mechanism. Mechanical breakage mechanisms are obsolete today, they are not used. Another important part in the projectile weaving, that is the color selector, waved color selector. You know, in case of automatic shuttle loom, the maximum 7 color you can be able to insert with a 4x4 drop box motion. That already you have studied. So here with the projectiles also you can be able to select many color as waved. Depending on the capacity of the machine, there may be more than 12 color can be inserted in the projectile weaving. In multicolor weaving machine, the waved carrier is controlled by a turret loader. So in projectile weaving, there will be a turret loader that will control the selection of the projectile which is carrying a particular color. If it is a 4-color system, that means a 4-color design is there in the running machine. So 4 waved carriers will be mounted on the loader. So there will be 4 waved carriers which will be mounted on the turret loader. So the waved carrier loader is driven by a conical gear controlled by a toothed quadrant that you can see here. Okay, this complete system is called turret loader. There you can see this is the toothed quadrant Okay, this is the two-thread quadrant which is actually driven by a conical gear. This is the conical gear, and as soon as this conical gear will rotate, it will make a motion to the two-thread quadrant, and when this two-thread quadrant will make a motion, then it will increase or decrease the position of the color loader or wave carrier. Here you can see there are four carrier. Okay, the four carrier or four different color will be there. The position of the carrier when it will be in the vicinity of this projectile, then this wave carrier will load the wave at the gripper position of the projectile. Okay, so this is the position of the level of the projectile, and this wave loader will load the yarn to the gripper of the projectile. So if there are four color system, four wave carrier will be mounted on the loader. So this loader is having four wave carriers, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this loader is having some up and down movement. In this way, the arrow is shown here. Okay, and this up and down movement is controlled by this quadrant. Okay, this two-thread quadrant, and this quadrant is getting motion or drive from this conical gear. So when the conical gear will rotate, it will move this quadrant, and this quadrant will then move this loader up and down direction. Okay, and when a particular loader will be in the position or in the level of this projectile or gripper, then there will be a finger like element. This will push this loader to load the wave at the gripper of the projectile, so that the yarn will be fed at the projectile, and then the insertion of the wave will be done from this loader only. So in this way, many colors can be arranged in the loader. Depending upon the capacity of the loader, various color can be inserted in the projectile loom. So when the quadrant moves upward or downward, the loader is pushed in the opposite direction, and the extension of the oscillation defined which carrier to take position opposite the clamp of the projectile to be launched. In the case of cam control held frame, the color is selected by a punched card special unit. So in case of cam control held frame, there are punch cards, and the punch cards will be used for color selection. If the heel frames are driven by the Dobby or by Jacquard machine, then the gear which drives the two-thread quadrant is integrated in the Dobby or in the Jacquard machine. The gear, that is the conical gear which I mentioned in the last slide, that is actually integrated with the Dobby, the Jacquard machine. Okay, the modern selectors are controlled by servo motors, and the wave sequence is programmable. Okay, so in case of nowadays, the modern machines, all the modern selectors are controlled by servo motors, and the wave sequence is programmable. So you can program the wave sequence. Okay, as per the design requirement, different color of wave you can program in the loom itself, so that the particular color will be selected by the selector and loaded in the gripper projectile for insertion of that particular color. So in case of projectile loom, this is the question from my side, and this is your task for you. How many maximum color can be inserted in a projectile loom? For example, in case of 4x4 box change automatic loom, you know the maximum 7 color can be inserted. So in case of projectile loom, what is the maximum capacity of waved color? That you need to find out from the book. Now I shall discuss some facts of the projectile loom. A 40-gram gripper, this is the typical weight of a gripper projectile, 40 grams only. flying away at the velocity of 24 meters per second. This is the average velocity as found in the earliest model of such system. So this is the old data. This is the maybe nowadays in the modern projectile looms are having much higher velocity than that. Possesses kinetic energy of about 12 Newton meter. So if the projectile is having a mass of 40 gram and average velocity of 24 meter per second, then the kinetic energy of that projectile will be 12 Newton meter. While a typical corresponding propulsion system stored about 67 Newton meter energy in torsion rod. So in the torsion rod, the total energy which is stored, that is around 67 Newton meter for effecting the propulsion. So the energy, the torsion energy which is stored in the torsion bar is 67 Newton meter, and the kinetic energy of the projectile is only 12 Newton meter. So only about 17% of the peaking energy is efficiently used in such system. Okay, the full 67 Newton meter energy, the torsional energy, that is not transferred in the as a kinetic energy of the projectile. So only 17% is actually transferred. Okay, so used in such a system, and the rest 83% of energy is wasted at each peak to the noise and heat. So that's why the projectile looms are generating tremendous noise and heat. Okay, so the most of this heat is generated in an oil brake to which one end of the toggle lever is connected. You can remember the toggle lever is connected to some oil brake. So heat is generally dissipated and transferred to the oil brake. Unwinding yarn from the supply package at a very high speed with minimum variation in the tension is critical to efficient functioning of the system. So you think about, you need to draw the yarn from the yarn package at a speed or velocity of 24 meter per second. So this amount of high withdrawal speed from a yarn package is very difficult, as well as you need to keep the tension of the weft yarn constant and uniform throughout the formation of the whole length of the cloth. So this is very difficult. This practically is very difficult. So yarn unwinding tension is directly proportional to the square of the yarn withdrawal speed, because the yarn tension, unwinding tension, is directly proportional to the square of the yarn withdrawal speed. So it is moreover affected by ballooning that occurs during the overhead unwinding. So during the overhead unwinding from the package, there will be the balloon formation, and the shape and size of the balloon depends on the position of the point of the withdrawal of the yarn from the package. If the point of withdrawal is at the tip of the package, then the shape of the balloon or the size of the balloon will be smallest, and if the tip of the withdrawal at the base of the package, then the shape of the balloon will be the highest or largest. So then, depending upon the size of the balloon, the yarn tension also will vary. The yarn tension in a balloon is directly proportional to square of the balloon height and inversely proportional to the square of the unwinding radius. So you can see how the yarn tension will vary depending upon the size of the balloon. As a result, the short-term variation due to the continuous change in balloon height and a long-term tension variation due to the gradual reduction in the package diameter get imposed on the basic yarn tension. So basic yarn tension, which is directly proportional to the square of the yarn withdrawal speed, that is also superimposed with the tension variation due to the balloon formation. Okay, and there is a short-term and long-term yarn tension variation. The short-term variation due to the continuous change in balloon height. Balloon height means from the tip position of the package to the base position of the package. Balloon height will be the smallest when the yarn withdrawal point at the tip of the package, and balloon tension will be the highest when the withdrawal point will be at the base of the package. And the long-term variation is due to the variation of the gradual reduction of the package diameter. Due to the withdrawing of the yarn, the package diameter will gradually reduce. So the gradual reduction, due to the gradual reduction of the yarn package, there will be the change in yarn tension gradually. Okay, that is the long-term tension variation. So you can understand how there will be the change in tension in yarn, and that is at all not desirable. So this fluctuation of the yarn tension will produce yarn package, as well as that will produce some defect in the fabric. If there will be the tension variation in the yarn when inserted weft inside the fabric, then there will be the unusual appearance of the fabric after beat up, and that will produce some defect in the fabric. So to eradicate or to remove or to handle such yarn tension variation, to keep the yarn tension uniform throughout the picking cycle as well as throughout the weaving of the fabric, complete fabric, yarn winder is the solution. Yarn winders are used in order to eliminate the deleterious effect of the ballooning. Recourse is taken to storage feeder. So yarn winders are also called storage feeder. So this is the package. Okay, this is the balloon protector or balloon mitigator. Okay, then after that, this is the storage feeder or yarn winder. What it does, a storage feeder, also referred to commonly as accumulator, unwinds the yarn at constant speed from the supply package and stores the same in parallel coil on a suitable rotating drum. In the yarn accumulator, there will be a rotating drum. The rotating drum will rotate in a constant speed, and that will wind and accumulate the yarn, okay, with a coil parallelly organized in this way. Okay, you can see. As and when the sufficient length of the yarn has been wound on the drum, the accumulator stops unwinding from the package. When the sufficient length of the yarn will be withdrawn by this accumulator and stored in this storage, then it will stop automatically. The accurate length will be exact length of the picking length. Okay, that is the length of the yarn to be inserted during the picking. That may be the length of the reed space plus the length of the selvage. The free end of the yarn near the drum edge passes through the suitable tensioning device of accumulator to the projectile feeder or picking system, which in turn transfer the same to the projectile. Okay, then after that, the free end that will be passed through some yarn tensioning device. Okay, then it will be fed to the projectile. So yarn tensioning device will uniformly control the tension in the weft yarn during the insertion. The yarn will be now inserted from this drum winder only, so that there will be no change in the diameter and no change or no variation, okay, in the due to the balloon formation. Hence, during its flight, the projectile unwinds yarn from the accumulator and not from the supply package, doing away thereby with the associated tension variation. So it is possible to bring away or possible to remove the problem which is associated with the tension variation of the yarn. As soon as the yarn starts getting wound from the drum, a sensor in accumulator switches it on, and the yarn from the supply package starts getting wound on the drum afresh. So as soon as the accumulator become empty, then again there will be a sensor that will detect that the yarn become empty and yarn become inserted. So that sensor I will start the drum again so that it will unwound the yarn from the package and store the yarn coils on the package itself. Unwinding yarn from the supply package and hence winding coils around the end of the drum while allowing the unwinding of the yarn from its other end during the projectile flight can occur simultaneously. So this winding and unwinding operation by the yarn accumulator may go on simultaneously. As and when projectile crosses warp shed and reaches the braking zone located on the opposite side of the picking assembly, the projectile feeder moves closer to the corresponding selvage and grips the peak of weft firmly. So this is very important point. As soon as the projectile crosses the warp shed, that means completes its travel and reaches the braking zone located on the opposite side of the picking assembly, the projectile feeder moves closer to corresponding selvage and grips the peak of the wave firmly. So the projectile feeder that will grip the yarn firmly. The firm gripping at both sides of the loom, firm gripping of the weft at the both sides of the loom is very important for keeping the uniform tension. While a pair of weft end grippers on each selvage also grip the same peak very close to the corresponding selvage. So that I mentioned. Subsequently, a weft cutter moves in between the projectile feeder and weft end gripper and cuts the yarn. Then the weft cutter will actuate and cut the yarn from both sides. As a result, a length of peak, part of which is held at a predetermined tension across the warp shed by weft end gripper, while a part hang out on each side of selvage gets separated from the supply package conveniently. Subsequently, warp shed crosses over. After that, the warp shed will cross over. The projectile feeder withdraws to its rest position while keeping the web grip firmly gripped and taking the system fold protruding pieces of the weft yarn at the two selvage back to next set. So after cutting and after the interchange of the shade or crossover of the shade, the extra length which was protruding out of the reed space that will be just getting inside in the shade which is called tuck in selvage. So there is a selvage formation process and as the extra length is tucked in and inserted back into the shade, this type of selvage is called tuck in selvage. Resulting selvage are therefore made up of double peak. So in the selvage, the peak density is doubled, okay, because there will be the U-turn of the extra length, the protruding length of the thread, weft yarn. The weaving system is resulting in a very uniform cream distribution and therefore very homogeneous fabric. So this projectile weaving system will give you very uniform cream distribution due to the uniform tension in the weft yarn and therefore very homogeneous fabric. This is not possible in case of shuttle loom. It is inferred that 50 times higher gripper aided by a superior propulsion system consumes 5 times less energy in being accelerated to a 3 to 4 times higher velocity at one-third of the time required by the conventional shuttle. So in comparison to shuttle weaving, the gripper, which is having 50 times lighter in weight, okay, and the suitable propulsion system or picking mechanism that consumes less than 5 times picking energy, okay, and the acceleration of the gripper is 3 to 4 times higher than that of the acceleration of the shuttle, and the velocity is much higher, and which is required, the time required for the picking is one-third of the time which is required by the shuttle to pick. So this is the very articulated system of weft insertion, and these weft insertion are still used by industry for manufacturing very wide width cloth. the typical velocity and acceleration profile of P-car shoes along with the velocity profile of gripper are illustrated in this figure. Okay, so you can see this diagram. Okay, this is the velocity profile of the P-car shoe, and this is the dotted one, the acceleration profile of the P-car shoe. The P-car for the projectile. Okay, you can see this is the read space. This is the velocity versus the distance, and you can see the velocity of the P-car shoe will be maximum at a point, then it will gradually reduce, and the acceleration will reduce initially, will increase initially in a very higher rate, and after that it will be come to zero and then negative, and again it will come to zero at a certain position. And in far from the beginning, far from being uniform, the P-car shoe acceleration profile shows three distinct phases. It has a finite value at the start itself. The acceleration, you can see there is a finite value at the starting point. It is not zero, resulting out of instantaneous release of the stored energy in torsion rod. So it will, due to this, that is due to the instantaneous release of the stored energy by the torsion rod. The subsequent phase may be approximated to a linear rise to the maximum value. The maximum value, the blue point here shown here, followed by a linear drop of the value of 0. Then there will be the drop of the acceleration 0 before entering the deceleration phase. And after that there will be the deceleration phase or negative acceleration. And after that again it will become 0. Okay, or it will stop. So now here in the bottom graph you can see the projectile velocity with time. The projectile, when the peaking shoe or the P-car shoe will hit the projectile will get instantaneous velocity within a very fraction of second. Then after that, okay, the typical maximum velocity of the projectile and the maximum velocity of the P-car shoe will be same. Okay, almost they will receive the same velocity within fraction of second, 0.007 second, and then after that the velocity of the projectile will remains almost constant throughout the peaking cycle, and after that when the braking operation will act, then there will be the reduction of the velocity to 0 again when the braking operation will stop the projectile. So in this way you can explain the velocity profile of the P-car shoe and the projectile, velocity and acceleration profile of the P-car shoe and the velocity profile of the projectile. So this is all about this projectile weaving lecture. I think the lecture will be interesting to you. I am suggesting you to go through the textbooks of Marx and Robinson and also NPTEL books for your further study. Happy learning.